Are you sick of playing decks that require a lot of thinking and brain power? Do you want a deck that has a very clear point A and B from the very beginning of the duel to the end? Let me introduce you, my viewers, to Cyber OTK, a deck that centers around Chimeratech Overdragon and how many monsters you can fuse to get the big OTK. But without further ado, let's look at the deck. We start off with Warrior Staple Breaker, the Magical Warrior, who on summon gains 300 attack and a spell/trap destruction. Next, we have our 3 copies of Cyber Dragon, who this time are not just here for the paycheck, as they contribute something else other than a free monster. They are a vital part of the deck's win condition, that being the OTK. Next, we have Cyber Phoenix, who, while in attack position, negates any spell or trap that targets a machine monster you control, including your own cards, so keep that in mind when you use it. You also get to draw a card when it is destroyed. Then we have Dekoichi, the Battle-Chanted Locomotive, which on flip lets us draw a card. Another machine, and it's more draw power in the deck. We have Big J, who negates traps on board and is another machine. Morphing Jar lets us discard all cards in hand and draw until we have 5. The main strategy with Morphing Jar is to use it when you're low on cards, or, with this deck, when you have a bunch of machines in hand to dump them and hopefully then get overload upon drawing your 5 cards. We have Sangon, who can search one of our machines when sent to grave, and Spirit Reaper, who is great for stalling. And finally, UFO Turtle, who can either float into itself or Cyber Phoenix depending on the situation. Simply use your judgment when doing so. With the monsters out of the way, now we move on to the spells. We have Creature Swap, which, well, swaps one of our machines with an opponent's monster, which can be used in combination with any number of monsters in this deck and be amazing. Enemy Controller lets us change the battle position of an opponent's monster or sacrifice one of our own to take control of theirs until the end phase, which is great for the OTK. Next, we have the very important and vital Future Fusion, which, while it takes 2 of your standby phases to resolve, it's only important for it to be around for 1 so that you can dump all of your machines into the grave and use it in combination with Overload Fusion to fusion summon a very big Chimeratech Overdragon. We have staple removal spells Giant Trunade, Heavy Storm, and Mystical Space Typhoon, which are all used to finish off your opponent. Then we have Limiter Removal, which will double all of our machines' attack, which can be used with your regular machines to finish off your opponent or with Chimeratech for an even bigger OTK. Then we have Overload Fusion. Up until now, we have been playing some typical machine beat, but this puts an atomic bomb in the deck for us to use. It allows us to fusion summon a dark machine monster from the extra deck using machines on the field or in the grave, which is basically Miracle Fusion Machine Edition. Pot of Avarice gives us more draw power, and Smashing Ground gives us some monster removal. And Jar of Greed lets us draw a card, which gives us a total of 10 draw cards in the deck at the moment. Magic Cylinder makes its triumphant return, and if you thought it was good before, wait until you try it in this deck, because it slaps. Mirror Force and Torrential Tribute are our 2 staple monster removals. Always remember there is a right time to use them, so keep that in mind. And Ring of Destruction destroys a monster on the field and deals damage to both players. Just remember this is Errata Ring of Destruction, so we can't do a funny and tie the duel. Finally, we have the fusions. Chimeratech Overdragon is the card I have been talking about all video for a very good reason. It gains 800 attack for each monster used to fusion summon it and an attack for each one of those monsters. So, in this deck, the maximum I have been able to get it up to has been 14 attacks, which is a little overkill, yes, but it is also very epic. We also have Cyber Twin Dragon and Cyber End Dragon if you want to use Future Fusion to summon those, but 95% of the time you'll want to fusion summon Chimeratech. Now, the main strategy of Cyber OTK is to summon some monsters and draw some cards, and overall, make sure your opponent doesn't overwhelm you before you can get your OTK. And always make sure you have some spell and trap removal when you go for your OTK, because Chimeratech Overdragon is very susceptible to a rogue Magic Cylinder or bottomless trap hole. Now let's get to some duels. Now that you know how Cyber OTK works, you can go out to YGO Reborn and use the deck I like to call Vacuum Cleaner to clean up your opponent's act and be like Zane from GX. Subscribe if you want. And the deck code will be in the description and comments.